Are you good? Welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nanny and I'm glad to have you here. If it's your first time, consider subscribing, liking and sharing my content. Also leave me a comment in the comment section below. I will be glad to engage you. I will get right into the title of the video and I will be sharing my experience as a nanny. So after high school, do you remember your first job? Or do you remember your first job generally? And if you do, kindly tell me what it was and how it has shaped you this far. So personally, I finished high school in 2011, and as you remember, during that time we used to do our exam in the month of November, I believe. I can't remember. I'm a fossil. Kai, si tumezeeka haraka. I remember tukifikiria watu wenye wako 30. Watu wako 30 ni wazee. Oi, 30 is here with us. Lo and behold. So let me just pull up back. When I was in high school, I was really good at chemistry. I was good at chemistry, and I remember that I would teach my classmates. Yeah, I was that plug for chemistry in my class. So I would teach my classmate chemistry. And as you know, chemistry was not that easy of a subject. So most of the time, even the teacher would, when the teacher would not come to class, I would be the one to just go and answer some of these questions that people had. Guys, mark you, I was not good in mathematics. Kai, motherfu, hazikuwa zinaingia mathematics, zero. What happened was that I just mastered the periodical table. I remember it was in my fingertips and the numbers and everything. So I had it in my head. So it made it easier for me to even apply the chemistry in and in other contexts. So that teacher liked me so much because in a way I was like motivation for other people. So in 2011, when I was done with my KCSE, pull up all through high school, all through campus, all through Kenya School of Law, I was sponsored. So basically, what happened was that because she had a kind heart, she didn't want me not to further my studies. So she hooked me up with her friend, whose husband was working at Barclays Bank, to just help me secure a scholarship. Yes, that is how I started to work as a house help. So I believe this was approximately in the month of February. It was early in that year, in the year 2012. It was early in the year 2012. So uh, when when it got to that month, she just she hooked me up with her friend and told me that this guy will help you secure a scholarship to help you take maybe nursing at KMTC. Yeah, mimi huyo I will dandia the opportunity. Actually, the truth is that I don't like blood at all. Hata nione kuku ikichinjwa, I can't eat it. That is the end of the chicken and me. So basically, when I got that opportunity, I went because I knew my parents could not afford to take me to any tertiary institution. So I just went. The house was a 5 bedroom house. They had they had 4 children and a brother to the wife who was staying in the servants' quarter. So the servants' quarter is something else. The servants' quarter is a 2 bedroom house. A 2 bedroom house. So you know that estate, if you've lived in Kiambu, you know there is a posh estate. Not posh as such, but posh. Just beside Kipi, Kipi the Institute. There's a posh estate opposite. You take a road and get in that way, because I know that the gate is farther. It's not just immediately opposite Kipi. So I went there. Uh, my salary was 3,500 in 2011. 3,500. So I worked there, and the truth is that having come from high school, I didn't know how to work as a house help. And when I went there, I was just shown you need to clean the nini. And Macu, the tiles were white, off whites, not just white, the ones that may look creamish or anything. They were off whites. So you had to scrub the tiles with steel wool before you use a duster to now mop it. I used to wake up at around 4:30 because they had a daughter who was, I think, around 10 years old. So I had to wake up very early since her her bus used to come at the door at approximately 6:10. So I will wake up early, prepare breakfast for everyone, and make sure that she's up like at around 5:30. Imagine. But why do these schools do this? Why are you waking children up at that hour? So just let them go to school at 8. So and I would wake her up, get her ready for school. She had some stomach problems, so she could not eat their school food. I had to pack her lunch. So this lunch has to be cooked in the morning before she wakes up. Because when she wakes up, you really have to make sure that she eats breakfast, goes and dresses, and then you start running out. Where? So that is waking up. Basically, during the day, I will have to work and do everything in the house. And then in the evening at around 4:30, I have to start making dinner. And this is dinner for so many people. And the truth is that having come from a family that was not well off, I didn't know how to do these things. Actually, I didn't even know how to cook meat well. Oh my god. Because I remember the first time, okay, I know that some people prefer to have their meat boiled first and then ikaangwe. Personally, at my home, we didn't know how to, we were not used to boiling meat. So the first time that I cooked meat there, okay, disastrous. Because the reason for boiling the meat is just to make sure that it tenderizes to avoid hurting people's gums. I didn't boil the meat. Nilichukua nyama, put just put kitunguu, the ingredients and all that, and then put the raw meat inside the pot. So when people were eating, they were wondering, what's wrong with this meat? Why is it so tough? The next time that we were cooking meat, that lady came and told me, let me see how you cook meat. And she realized that I wasn't boiling the meat. So she started showing me how to cook, because I think in her head she thought that I had done this work, because I'm sure if she knew that I didn't know how to do it, she wouldn't give me the job. Even though I was told that you come in here just to work kidogo and get a scholarship and go to school. So I was saying that there are things that I didn't know how to cook. Things like pilau, I didn't know how to prepare them. Those were not we didn't cook pilau at home. We've never. Our staple food was ugali. Because most of the time, ugali is quite affordable. You just buy unga. You can even go to the portion mill and have it done and go home. So ours was ugali and skuma. There's this one time I cooked ugali. And then at my home, we were not, because we didn't have running water. So we used to cook and just leave the utensils for the next day. So guys, in our home we didn't have running water, so we would pile up the utensils and wash them there the next day. So what happened was that when the girl, because she would come, they had a daughter. I believe she was 20 years old at that time. They had a daughter, 20 or 21, there in between, thereabout, 20 or 21, thereabout. So they had a daughter who would come home from Nazarene University during the weekends. And I remember there's this time that she found that I had washed the vyombos and soaked muiko, the cooking stick. And so soaked the cooking stick inside the sufuria. And she took the muiko and ran very fast to her mother while laughing in a way that demeaned me so much. It made me feel like I'm nobody, like I know nothing. And to be honest, since I came from a background was not from a poor background, I felt like she was disrespecting me and she was demeaning me because she knew where I came from. That was my thought. That was my thought. And it was very sad because these things destroy your self esteem for a while. And it even, the occurrences of that time even affected my campus life. And I remember it was a lot of work because by the time ilikuwa inafika hiyo 4, I have been standing kutoka asubuhi. I've not sat down from morning to that time. I had been standing from morning to that time without having seated, and my feet were burning, literal burning. Yani unachomeka because of the amount of time you've been standing and doing manual work. So I didn't, sikuwa naosha vyombo nikipika because I came to later realize that it's easier for you to wash utensils while you're cooking rather than pile them up and wait to do them later. So I would I will just cook and then kusanya the vyombos, put them there, then wait for people to finish eating, nianze kuosha vyombo. Wow. Disaster. Can you imagine vyombo za watu wanne? And basically, they had daughters who were not staying with us. So those ones would come to stay with us later. And that would increase the number of family members in the house. So it was really tough for me just to handle the amount of utensils and cook at the same time and go to bed in time. So I worked for about let's say, almost 4 months. And when it came a time that they were supposed to maybe come through for me, they did not. So I worked there for around 4 months. And the truth is that it was a difficult time period because I remember uh, they had a bathtub. The best thing that I saw or that lady used to do was that she wouldn't let you go clean her room. She would do it herself. So what I don't know was whether she felt like I would steal something, because the truth is that most people will trust you with their children, but will not trust you with their rooms. Personally, for me, I think that your children are the most valuable things that you have. So, having taken that into account, there you should be comfortable to leave your whole house to your help if you're leaving your children with your help. Because the truth is that these children are helpless and they cannot defend themselves when it comes to these house helps. So that's one thing I observed. It wasn't a good thing because she would sometimes make utterances that um, would make you think that she wasn't happy with the state of affairs, that you cannot clean her room. So she would maybe, like on Saturdays, she would allow me to go in there and clean up, just wash everything thoroughly when she's there. So basically, according to me, my personal opinion is that she feared that I would steal her things. But she trusted me to take care of her 10-year-old when she was not there. That's just absurd. It's unbelievable because these are material things. This is a person that you value so much, but you can trust this person with who is you cannot value a person no matter their age. You can never ever value a person. You can close your bedroom because you don't want this person to get in there, since you feel like they will steal things from you or they will disrespect you in a certain way. So, one thing that I would want to recommend each and every employer to think about is, if you're trusting your health with your most valuable thing, why are you not trusting your health with your house? Because I believe your children are the most valuable thing. Because my understanding is that most of the people who have live-in nannies are the ones who have um, children who are younger, and most likely they are a working class or just do not, even if they do not go out of the house, most of the time they cannot leave the house. And you have to trust your child with someone. So if you trust your child with someone, please trust that someone with your home totally. Because if they can decide to do anything. I remember actually another thing is that in that estate you could not leave, you could not get in without leaving your ID at the gate, and most of the time my ID will stay there. It will stay there because you can't come with it. I do not know why. So it will stay there. So already there are measures that have been put in place. Like there were measures that were put in place. Like for people who of us who live in Eastlands, most of these places don't have security. But I will say that a majority of helps that work here do a good job because they do not hurt, they do not steal. I'll say the majority, so not all of them. Because I've recently seen a story of a house help murder her boss, and her 7-year-old child. That's unfortunate because you're also human. Let me just say, maybe, let me not rule out the fact that there might be mental illness in the picture. But to be honest, you as a house help, always remember that you will also have your own house. I was a help, and now I'm personally a lawyer. I can stand in court, I can defend someone. I have a son now. So what if I had mistreated that lady's daughter because she was mistreating me? And we'll get to that. She was mistreating me. Actually, when it got to a time that schools, people are now being enrolled in schools. As I had told you earlier, I had gone there. I had been hooked up by my chemistry teacher. Big up, Mrs. Kanyugo. Thank you so much for just taking it in your heart to try and assist me. I really appreciate your assistance. So, when it got to that time that schools were almost being open, I remember children had closed school for a while, and things were really tough on me because now I had to cook dinner for about 6 people, wash utensils for about 6 people alone, and nobody will assist. And actually, as you know, when you're at home, you keep on using utensils over and over, and they will keep on piling in the sink, and nobody will help you, nobody will assist at all. But I remember the young daughter, the 10-year-old, would insist on assisting a bit, but I would always be in a position of fear because I've never been told that she can do these things. So I would only allow her when her mother is there and has allowed it. So she would insist on helping me clean. When the children were almost getting back to school, and schools and people from tertiary institutions were going back to school, they started behaving like they do not want me. And I remember there was this one day we would boil like beans, okay, cereals. We would boil cereals during the week. Cereals like beans, all those things, and jahes. So at this time when children are at home, and I believe it was the last week before they went back to school, everything will be cooked in a larger portion than we used to do when they were not at home. Because when they were at home, it was only myself, the husband, wife, and the brother to the wife. So those are 4 people. These other 2 daughters, one was in boarding school in high school, while the other one was at Nazarene and would only come during the weekends. So I remember that she had told me to boil, to remove the chaff from beans that were around, I think, 5 kgs. And I remember alinipata at around, it was at around 11, nikichagua hiyo maharage, because the beans were supposed to be cooked the following day. So she found me seated on a stone outside. Those stones that are along the flower beds. I was seated there while removing the chaff. So what happened was that she came and yanked me up. She yanked me up and told me, "Kwa nini unaketi ukichagua maharage? Kwani maharage ni nini?" And I remember, you see, like how nowadays beans don't have a lot of dirt in them, because even when personally, I buy beans in my local cereal shop. They do not have as much dirt as beans or any cereal would have at that time. So I was seated down and she told me, chagua maharagwe kama umesimama. She used to say marage, so apologies if it's any habits are passed down. If I said marage, because Kenyans we know it as maragwe. She was Tanzanian, I believe, married to a Kenyan. You should remove the chaff when you're standing, not sitting down. And I was so tired. So what happened when alipiga kona akaingia kwa nyumba? Cried. I cried so much because I remember her daughters were so mean to me and they would laugh at me at any point. Remember, I have told you that I'm coming from a background that we are not used to these things. So some of these things, I'm only seeing them for the first time in my life at their house. And it was really, I was, it was really taking a toll on me. It was destroying my self-esteem because it's really bad for someone to make you feel like you are lesser than them. It's really bad. And it's unfortunate that you can actually fail to teach your children to treat every person equally. Because the truth is that they might be your help today, they might be your nanny and or your house help or house manager, however you choose to call them. But tomorrow you don't know where they will be. And actually, personally, I have this mantra. You should never treat people well because you do not know where they will be tomorrow. Just treat people well because you're just a decent human being. Apologies because it looks like it's going to rain. Maybe the light might change. So I was saying that you should treat people well because you're just a decent human being. That's all. That's all. Nothing else. Nothing else should make you treat your fellow human being as well because you're human and they're human. Enough. You should not be told more. So those were just some of the little things. And I remember uh, in the toilet for the general toilet that the children or and myself would share, there was a bathtub. And I don't know how these children would get the bathtub so dirty. You could wash it in the morning and in the evening it's extremely dirty, inakaa ni kama imekanyagwa na matope ya red because Kiambu has red soil and you will have to do it all over again when she comes. So it's very important for you just to teach your children to respect your nannies. Just teach them to be decent human beings. I know that we have those bad apples, but I think we have we have become a society which tries to justify bad behavior, that tries to justify why things happened to people. We should not. We should not. Should never justify something bad happening to someone because nobody deserves bad treatment. Nobody deserves to feel like they are nobody. Akuna. Everyone deserves to feel like they are loved. And so I will take my portion of the blame. And my portion is that I had just come from high school and I've never done this work. I've never. I've never been a help before. And personally, our house was small. I've grown in a two-roomed house. And I will tell you the truth, we just used to clean haraka haraka because it's just since I slept in the sitting room together with my brothers, it was not uh what do we call it? It was not a big house that utashindwa kusafisha. But for me, this house was very big. I remember she would uh, wake up one day and tell you, you need to clean the curtains. And let me tell you one thing, if there is one thing that is difficult to clean if you do not have a formula, is curtains. Because the shears are sensitive. Zinachoranga. If you've ever cleaned curtains, and if you've ever done curtains for large and huge windows, you know how problematic that can be. You're just supposed to take one window, clean curtains for one window, and then move to the next. You can't do for the whole house. Hash used to remove all of them, then remove the carpets. And you have to do these things all in a day and make sure everything is back to more normal in the house before she came back. What I will say was my problem is that I had not been a house help before. Because, as you know, for you to be good at something, you must have done it for a while. You can't just wake up today and say, I'm good at doing this. No, you cannot. You must have done it for a while. And personally, I had not done any job as a nanny or a house help. So I will say that I was basically doing my best. And when it got to a point that children were going to school, like uh, after 1 week, she called me to the sitting room. I remember I used to go home on Saturdays. So on that Saturday, I woke up early in the morning, cooked pancakes, and cleaned the house, made sure everything was in order so that I can go home. Yes, we lived in Kasarani, and my working place was just at Kiambu. Kiambu and Kasarani is not far. So she just called me. She didn't even give me a prior warning at oh, tomorrow sijui nini you won't be coming back. And she just called me when I told her, hey, I'm about to leave. She sat me down together with her daughters who were looking at me like, so who are you? And finally you're going. So as in, you see how teenagers have so much attitude. I will say that the person who didn't show me attitude in that house was the youngest daughter who was around 10. And she told me, since watoto wanarudi shule, since children are going back to school, mimi sidhani I will have a lot of work, and actually I do not have money to pay you. Makiushi was paying me 3,500. 3,500. And you will have to go home, but when we have work, we'll tell you. So for me, I just saw that it, because I think I went there in either mid-January or going to the month of February. I can't remember well because I left there uh, when it was like uh, May was starting, because children were supposed to go maybe at around a later date in May, open school. So you have to go, we'll call you back. And I knew, this one, I wasn't gonna be called back. They just wanted to make it easy for them to let me go and tell me and give me hopes that um, they will call me back. And also, if you realize, If you terminate someone's employment without giving them prior notice, you're supposed to pay them 1 month's salary in lieu of of that 1 month that you didn't, in lieu of the notice. So I believe that they were avoiding to give me my money. So because they just paid me that 1 month's salary and went and told me to go. So since I was also innocent, I stayed home and hoped that they would call me, but they didn't. Because I remember one thing that I learned in that house was to cook. She really taught me how to cook. And when I was coming out of that place, because she was a chef and a business lady at the same time, she used to sell clothes at Kiambu town, but she was a chef by profession. I had good experiences because the first time that I ate pizza was at their house. Even though it was something to do with, it had a lot of onions, I didn't like it, but I got to experience the other side of life well at their place. Personally, I think that she was a nice lady. The problem was that their children were not taught to treat you the same way. And of course, everybody has bad days. So sometimes you will say something that will hurt your nanny. Sometimes you will do something that will not make them happy, and they won't take it well. It happens. We had our bad days, but she taught me a lot, and that experience, uh, I came with it from her place, and I have applied lessons that I learned there over and over in my lifetime. So this far, I will say that that experience has shaped me so much. It shaped everything about me because I came to learn that you have to treat people well for them to feel human, for them to feel like they are cared for. I learned how to cook. Um, I had some experiences like the first time that I ate pizza, sorry, and the first time that I went to a Chinese restaurant. Yes, when children were at home, because now they were at home like 3 weeks or 2 weeks, the husband will take us to these places. And there are families that will not even let you eat with them. But this family did let me. They let me even go with them to these places. So it has shaped me a lot. There are things that I still apply right now in my life when I have nannies around, because right now I do not have a living nanny. I have a day bag. And I still even apply them with my day bag. There are lessons that I took that were great for me, and I know that they might assist you uh, change the way you treat them. But also, that does not mean that you should put your guard down, because I've also had bad experiences with nannies, and we'll get to share that later. But generally, I would say that treating them better improves the quality of work output. That is what I will say. So, in the when since I was terminated, my job was terminated in the month, or almost in the month of May, or in the month of May. I remember I'm very lucky and thankful to God because He has placed people in my life who have always been destiny helpers for me. They have been destiny helpers because I remember when I got back home, I decided to just go back to my auntie's office. My auntie is a lawyer, an advocate, and I talked to her and requested that she pays my fee. And I remember her telling me, just go scout, and see which university suits you better. And I remember because I was told initially that law is very expensive, you can't actually afford law. The first information that I came back with, because I took those gazettes from various universities, was about journalism. Because to be honest, I didn't want to do nursing. Nursing was just because I couldn't afford it, and I couldn't afford tertiary education, and nursing was the easiest way for me just to join a tertiary institution. So chenye ilifanyika was that when I went back with those papers, because I remember we were with my mom, she told me that I do not think that you are suited for journalism. And the truth is that I am not. That is just the truth. And she asked me, what would you want to become in life? And I told her, I've always wanted to be a lawyer. And she asked me then, why are you getting brochures for other courses? I couldn't tell her because I do not have the money. Since this is a person that you're hoping will assist you, and you should always show people that you have hopes that things will get better. So she told me, you just go to universities that are offering law and take their brochures and bring them. So hey, that lady is so patient, and I thank God for her presence in my life, because she has enabled me see that it's possible. God will always send destiny helpers to you. So don't worry, everything will work out in its own time, and in God's own time, it will work out. So I actually got one from a university, and she was like, nah, you can't go to a public university. And I was like, hey, does this lady realize that nimeona brochure ya private university nikaiacha, because one semester tuition fee, just tuition fee 75,000. Mimi nitatoa wapi 75,000? 75k. And she told me, just she sent me to Transnational Plaza, where Kabarak is, I think town campus. I don't know whether they moved it. And told me, just go take the brochure for law school at Kabarak and bring it right now. So I went, took it, and brought it to her, because I already had copies of my transcript. I didn't have my certificate at the time, because shule ilikuwa imechomwa na tukaambiwa tupatiwi certificate mpaka vitu zirudishwe venye ilikuwa. And personally, I didn't even know who burnt the school. It was actually mentally agonizing and disoriented me during my KCSE period, because that is when it was happening during my fourth year. So she took it, and I remember I was supposed to go for the intake September, because now the intake May, it had already passed me. So what she did was, she told me, she took the brochure and my transcripts and everything, every document that was needed, and told me, but now you cannot stay at home idle. You need to think about something you can do. I told her I would want to do computer. So she told me, you just go scout for a good school and get their brochure, come bring it to me. So I went to Petans. I know you might have heard Petans, and took their brochure to her, I believe the following week. So I was called later on and given a check, paid to the institution for my fee to undertake computer studies. So I did the studies, because I started later on, since the fee was paid later, and couldn't finish it, because now already the time for enrolling in school was had already come. So I had to leave it halfway and go enroll in school. So that's how I joined Kabarak for my LLB, and I will get to tell you how that went. But right now, I'm an advocate or a lawyer, and this is my testimony, and I wanted to share some of the lessons. So thank you so much. Subscribe if you're here to do so. Also consider liking this video, sharing my content, and leaving me a comment. Please tell me what your first job after high school was. Let's share these experiences.